hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm Eva, I'm a knitter from Germany, and today I'm gonna be talking about my spring knitting plans. I actually wasn't sure which topic to choose for my second ever video, so I asked over on Instagram, and you should totally follow me there. We have a lot of fun. And you guys voted for spring knitting plans, obviously, which is why I'm here. But if you're interested in what the other topics would have been, I'm still gonna make these in the future, so you should subscribe to see those pop up in your subscription box sometime soon. Before we get into the actual video, I am wearing my Semper slip over, and this is one of the first things I've ever finished in my knitting career, and this is one of my most worn pieces. You can kind of tell that it was done by a beginner knitter, because the neck ribbing has been sewn down, kind of crooked, and the German short row stitches are painfully visible, to be honest. But I still love it. I love the color. It is very easy to wear because it is one solid color. And the yarn is Lang Yarns Merino 120. And I do recommend it per se. I just wouldn't recommend it for a total beginner who occasionally still makes mistakes, because this yarn, it shows mistakes so much. So if you are a more experienced knitter and you have figured out a way to hide your German short row stitches in your stockinette portions, which I personally haven't, so if you know how, please tell me in the comments below. But if you have figured out to hide those, then I think this is a great yarn. It is machine washable. I'm not sure if it is officially machine washable, but I put this in the machine occasionally, and it's been fine so far, so I recommend. The first category is Leave Me Alone, I'm Knitting, because these are the things I am planning on finishing no matter what it takes. Even if I do not set foot outside for the entire season, even if I do not see one single flower blooming, I am going to finish these pieces. And the first one is the Semper Sweater V-neck. I am almost done with the shoulders, and I think this is going to be such a nice staple piece because I have quite a few crazy pants and dresses, and this is going to look very good with those, hopefully. And the second item in that category is the Cumulus Blouse. I do not love petiteknit patterns. I could make a whole video on this. I do not dislike her. I do not think her stuff is ugly by any means. It's just I find them super basic, and basics definitely have a time and a place, but I would just rather support a smaller designer if I can, because I feel like she is very widely knit, and I do not need to be one of the people that knits her things, because enough people are knitting her things anyway. So yeah. I really want to make the Cumulus Blouse. I have seen a picture of this on Instagram, and this has been living in my head rent-free for months, if not years, because I am in my tomato soup girl era. And the color of this is just so perfect. I am gonna try and find out which yarn has been used. I am suspecting it might be Sandnesgarn, either poppy red or that orange feeling. I really want to knit something in that color, and I thought the Cumulus Blouse, it has this very subtle V-neck, not like very pointy, but more rounded, with that pointelle fabric shirt underneath. It is perfection. I also need to sew myself a shirt like this. I'm currently looking for some nice pointelle fabric that isn't too flimsy or see-through, which I've come to find out is a problem with pointelle fabrics. And I cannot wait to wear this combination in spring. I think this blouse is gonna be very airy, very fluffy, but it's still gonna keep me warm, and it's perfect. I love it. The second category is called Hocus Crocus, because I'm only gonna knit these if I magically find the time this season. And the first thing I want to knit is the Sera Cardigan by, let me check, Soup Knits. And this is the replacement I want to make for my sweater number 15, which, if you've watched my last podcast, I do not like and want to unravel. And I think the yarn is gonna work very well for this. A lot of the cardigans I found had a very airy kind of yarn combination, and this is one of the few cardigans I found that have a bit more bulk to them, but still have a very dainty pattern, and I really love the look of this cardigan. However, one thing you have to know about me is I hate brioche. I don't hate knitting it, I've never knit it, but the way it looks, it just makes me deeply uncomfortable. I have no idea why. I can't look at brioche, it makes me nervous. So I am most likely going to knit the brioche sections, the sleeves and the side parts here, in another kind of stitch. I was thinking maybe just some basic rib. The cardigan has a wide strip of stockinette at the front, and I'm gonna count how many stitches that is, and maybe I'm gonna replicate that in my sleeve ribbing. I'm thinking there is a likelihood that the ribbing may be too wide if I go for the exact amount of stitches of the front stripe, but I would also be open to trying like a 3x1 rib or 4x1 rib. I love 3x1 rib. I've knit quite a few pairs of socks in 3x1 rib, and I think it looks so good. I love it. And yeah, I'm hoping that it's gonna turn out well. I've also seen another cardigan on Ravelry where they color matched the buttons to the color of the yarn, and I thought that looked so cool, so I'm gonna try and find some matching pink buttons for this cardigan. A knitting friend recommended to me a store here in Munich where they have apparently very luxurious yarns and some very luxurious buttons, and I might treat myself to a couple of those. Then next up is the Margaux top by Gregoria Fibers. This has been sitting in my Ravelry favorites for quite some time, probably since I've started knitting, honestly. I really love the vintage inspired silhouette, and although I am not a earth tone kind of gal, I really love the brown because I think that would look so good with like some denim dad shorts and some loafers. That would be such a cool outfit. And that is why I really want to knit this top. My only problem with this is that it is knit in cotton yarn, and I do not love knitting with cotton. Can you tell I've been traumatized by the fingering weight cotton sweater I attempted to start? But I believe this one is a DK weight, so hopefully I'm gonna be fine. And I'm most likely also gonna try and find the exact yarn that was used in that sample. I hope it is available somewhere in my country, because as I said, I really love the color. The designer of this top has mentioned in her Ravelry description of the pattern that this top is gonna grow quite a bit in length. So as I like my tops to be a bit more cropped, I am most likely gonna block this mid-knitting, so to say, maybe before I start the bottom ribbing, just to make sure that this is not gonna be like a dress length. And About the width, I'm not too concerned about that. In the Ravelry projects I've seen that for quite a few people this has a very fitted look, like very bodycon, and I do not love that for my personal style, and I'm not sure if these people did that on purpose because they actually wanted it to be more fitted, or if that's just how the top is turning out. And the designer recommends about 2 to 5 centimeters of positive ease. So I'm gonna try and make sure to choose a size that is at least 4 centimeters of positive ease. And I am also gonna try and block my swatch, because we all know what happens if I do not block my swatches, and I am not going through that again. Now, the last category is called On the Garden Fence, because I'm still very on the fence about these pieces. For the first top, I have been so close to actually getting the yarn and starting this. It is the Pop Top by Josephine Dyring, and I think this looks insanely cool. I love the crochet edges around the holes, and I think this would be such a fun top. The quarrel I have with this is the gauge. It is a 13 stitch gauge. It is knit in Aran weight cotton. The designer recommends holding 2 strands of cotton together, 1 Aran and 1 DK weight, and it seems to me that this would be quite a thick fabric, and you know, the holes probably are gonna get you some ventilation, but not enough to be wearing that thick of a top during a summer day, and also too much ventilation in order to keep you warm on a slightly cooler spring day. So I might have to see about that. This top is so cool, I like it so much that I might knit it beside it seeming slightly unpractical. So if I do decide to knit it, I'm gonna report back whether it actually is too warm and too cold at the same time. The last item on my list is the Alexa top by Le Pool. I again think this is such a cool top. I love a good crop top, and I also love the color combination. I've actually knit with this yarn before, which is Chaos Garn Organic Merino Superfine, something like that. And it is a fingering weight. The gauge is 28 stitches and the top is knit on 3mm needles, which might indicate to you why I am still on the fence about knitting this top. I just don't know if I have the patience to do that. And also, I love that yarn. I have knit with it before. It is the softest yarn I have ever touched. But I'm not sure if a merino wool top in spring or summer would be a feasible option for my personal wardrobe. So yeah, I'm gonna see about that. Again, I think it is very cool. I might still knit this, and maybe you could make it work as some type of a vest and wear a blouse underneath, or a white t-shirt, for example, to make it a bit more cold weather appropriate if you're not gonna wear it at the height of summer. And this is knit with intarsia. My experience with intarsia hasn't been great. Like, when I left the full balls on my intarsia strands, it got very annoying very quickly. I've also tried to wind the yarn on some like self-made paper bobbins, and I didn't love that. But I found out in my unbearable hoodie, I've made the flowers on that partially intarsia. If I just take a very long piece of my yarn and I snip it like somewhere at the bottom, and I just leave that yarn strand dangling, then it's not going to be as bad. For me, it didn't get as tangled, but This top seems like a easily digestible kind of intarsia to me. These are all of my spring knitting plans, and it's probably unrealistic that I get to all of these. I would be very happy if I at least finish the first two, and then I'm gonna see maybe about the Margaux top and the cardigan. I think I could carry that over into the summer. So let me know in the comments, what is the one thing you want to knit this spring? I would love to hear that. And also I've heard, if you subscribe to this channel, then every day is gonna have the perfect temperature to wear your handknit spring items. So make sure and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye!